and make an appointment. That's 866-224-5422. Time now for New Business on Main Street with your host, Russell. Each week, Russell takes an in-depth look at another exciting business. To get in on the discussion, call toll-free 888-565-1470. Now, let's talk business. Your business. With today's guest, here's Russell.
Hi, guys. Welcome to New Business on Main Street. Very exciting day because I heard we have a very exciting guest that Russell was telling me about.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to introduce David a little bit?
Well, David, he's been around a long, long time. Really a consummate entrepreneur, if you will. Crowdfunding is a big deal. Kickstart is one of the biggest deals all across the world, and then you got Indigo is the second, but you got many other thousands of them. Mm-hmm. But he started way before most of them, back in about 2003. Mm-hmm. So he's been doing it a long time and very, very accomplished, and he has a system that goes throughout the world, covers all the countries. But he's going to talk about that, so go ahead and interview him.
Of course.
He's good. He's good.
And I know David's on. We're going to get him. Hi, David. Can you hear us?
I can. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. How are you? And he's on bus A. We're all good? Perfect. All right. This is our first time on the show that we're doing a virtual interview. So thank you for being our first virtual interview.
Well, I'm honored.
So tell me about your Kickstarting, about what you do, how that works. Give me like a brief overview before we can really get into it.
Well, sure. As Russell was saying, not only was I one of the first people to create a crowdfunding platform, I was the creator of online crowdfunding, and I created my first system back in 2002. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I created it was because there was a need. There was a need in the marketplace where people needed to have an opportunity to raise funds for virtually anything. And since 2002, as Russell mentioned, there's been thousands of other crowdfunding platforms such as Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Facebook is now doing crowdfunding. And crowdfunding can be used to raise money for virtually anything, whether it be personal, business, or charitable reasons. And to give you a couple of really great examples of what crowdfunding has been used for, all you have to do is look at the former president of the United States, President Barack Obama. He raised almost $1 billion using crowdfunding. So without crowdfunding, he would have had a much more difficult time becoming president. So that's one example of crowdfunding. The country of India used crowdfunding a few years back when they had a natural disaster. They went to the public, raised money, and that's how they took care of that natural disaster. And now today, every single entity on planet Earth is essentially using crowdfunding for something.
That's incredible. I had no idea about President Barack Obama or India. That is, I mean, I know there's a lot of charities out there. I've worked on a show where we do ones for disabled individuals, but to have it on that scale is absolutely incredible. Now that they reach it.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in crowdfunding? How did that idea even come to you?
Well, back when I first started it, I was looking at setting up some type of home-based business. And in the process of trying to set up a home-based business, you encounter a lot of difficulties. And it doesn't really serve the needs of the people that are using the system. So I went to my lawyers. I had seen a concept that people had done previously, between friends. And I went to one of my lawyers and I said, what do you think if I create this and we put it online? And, we did a peer, at the time it wasn't called crowdfunding, I called it a peer-to-peer exchange system. And I said, can we do this and can we do it legally? And he looked at the laws and it was determined that yes, in fact, we can do it legally and we can do it anywhere in the world.
That's amazing. That's incredible to think of that. And I like the peer-to-peer. I like that. That's cute. But that's awesome. And what are some awesome products that you've created? I mean, you are the crowdfunder.
Well, the system that I originally created, we've gone through a couple of brandings since then. I got sick in 2012, which took me out of the marketplace for probably from 2012 to 2018. And then as I got well again in 2018, we created a new platform, which was called 50/50, which is still going on right now. And to date, so far, my systems have helped over 1 million people and done close to $1 billion.
That's amazing.
Right. The the Congress passed an act in 2012 allowing small businesses to do crowdfunding, and it was the Jumpstart Business Startup Act, it was called, so people can look at the congressional records and find out. So a lot of big I mean, if you get the book, I have several books in the library, but if you get the book on Kickstart, which is the largest, one of the largest ones, and he can tell you more about that. And they have thousands and thousands of people raising money for all kinds of things, as he indicated. So it's people say, well, I want a couple $1,000, to send my kid to college, or somebody else say, I want to do some retirement program, and I need to raise $500,000. Some other companies raise 15, 20, 30 million. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So Freddie should be doing one to raise money to buy himself expanded radio facilities all across the world. So
Yeah, Freddie.
and he can help you do that, Freddie. I mean, this guy, yeah, okay, all right. So Freddie's going to call you, David. He wants to find out
for sure.
how he can raise millions and millions and millions of dollars so he can start a radio station and radio network, if you will, all across the broad spectrum of the world.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, if I might add, there's many different types of crowdfunding, and the Jobs Act that President Obama passed back in 2012, that was a form of crowdfunding which allowed the average individual, instead of a sophisticated investor, to invest into small businesses, small amounts of money to help them going. And in return, these small businesses, which normally would have had to go through a merchant bank, get a prospectus and all these other very, very expensive documents together, they were now able to go to the general public and raise money, and in return give a reward, and that reward was equity in the businesses at that time. So that was one form of crowdfunding, and there's a few other ones right now. And you talked about people using crowdfunding to raise money for anything, and it can be used to raise money for anything. However, only about 22% of all crowdfunding campaigns actually get funded. And there's a really good reason for that, is that if you only have a couple of friends and you need to raise $100,000, it's unlikely those two friends are going to give you $50,000. If you are a celebrity or you are someone with a good following and you need to raise $100,000, it's going to be that much easier. Now, when you look at what's going on here today and what's been going on in 2020 with the coronavirus and the pandemic, and literally hundreds of millions of people being put out of work, right now, people could actually use crowdfunding to get themselves from today to tomorrow. And I've come up with a new platform that I'm going to be releasing the first part of next year that's actually going to tend to the needs of those hundreds of millions of people that are out there that need to pay their monthly bills, that need to put food on their table, that need to get out of debt. So it's going to be pretty exciting as we round the corner in 2021.
That's amazing.
It is, yeah. Really, it's called really self-sufficiency, economic self-sufficiency, and he's doing a great job. Could you talk about your history and developing all the systems that you have across the world? Could you talk about some of that and some of the some of the big numbers that you have? Go ahead.
Yeah, and well, the crowdfunding is actually the third thing that I've done that's actually had an impact on the entire planet. Right now, if you reach into your pocket and you pull out a credit card, you're going to get points on that card. Like a debit card or a credit card. They're called loyalty cards. I created loyalty cards back in 1985, back in the day when everyone was tearing out coupons. And that's another something that I created that's literally doing trillions of dollars a month right now. I also had the first internet mall back in 1995, in which I had over 1,000 stores on that mall. So I've been doing some crazy things for a while now, but doing them in a very quiet way. Most people don't know who I am, and I kind of like that. And even with the creation of the crowdfunding, you know, if you go on the internet, you're not going to see that David-T-Rosen was the creator of crowdfunding. You're going to see a whole bunch of other different things, and I think that's kind of cool because it's just simply about, you know, finding a need and filling that need to help the many instead of just helping the few.
One, let me say thank you for creating loyalty points and cards because I got my mom a new coffee maker with that the other month.
Right.
So like, thank you. I didn't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
That was the greatest thing ever.
Exactly. Yeah, they're pretty cool. And when I first created it, it was considerably better than most of the cards today because it gave you a point of purchase discount on an ongoing basis. And then they modified it. They came out with things like air miles, and now you get points. And you know, they aren't as good as what they used to. You know, spend $60,000 so you can get a toaster oven.
Yeah, but you know what? That toaster oven, you just feel like it's a gift.
Exactly. At least you're getting something.
Exactly. You're like, oh, I may have spent all my money, but like, there's little things.
Right. Could you talk a bit about the cooperative, that piece that you put together recently? Could you talk about that and give people some direction in terms of how to get more information about your system? Could you do that?
Well, the 50/50 system that's been going on now for the last couple of years is really an interesting system, and it's really team crowdfunding because, as you know, with almost all of the crowdfunding platforms that are out there, if you need to raise $100,000, you go out to a whole bunch of friends. Those whole bunch of friends donate little, you know, portions of money to you, and at the end of the day, if you are able to get that $100,000, and maybe 1,000 people have given you $100 each, at the end of the day, those 1,000 people don't get anything but a good feeling. And if you really want to help people, then, you know, in the 50/50 system that I created, we take each donation and we split it up in two ways to help two causes instead of just one cause. And then it turns into where you have a cooperative, a participation where everybody's helping each other. And I've got something else coming out, like I say, next year that's going to dramatically change that again, and really basically change the entire landscape for the fundraising industry.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the system that you put in place in 2002 has raised what, billions of dollars so far?
Yeah, we've done $1 billion so far with that system, and the beautiful thing about that $1 billion that we raised is 100% of that $1 billion went to the hands of the people that were doing the fundraising. So as a company, we took nothing from that. And even today with the 50/50 system, as a company, we take nothing from it. 100% of all the donations go to the participants, the people that the fundraisers. And even better still, with the other platforms, they take a fairly sizable portion of that donation. They say that they're taking, you know, 3, 4, 5%, but ultimately they're taking 3, 4, 10 times that amount. On top of that, it usually takes weeks and sometimes even months before that money is freed up for you to be able to use for whatever it is you need to use it. In the 50/50 system, you receive a donation right now, you can use and access that donation right now.
That is huge, especially since you were talking about how there needs to be a system where people can get from day to day and how they can get out of debt and people can donate it to it. You can't wait those weeks and weeks that it takes. You can't have the companies taking out the percentages. So that is a huge thing. And thank you for that.
Yeah, and here's the beautiful thing, because it really warms my heart, because we've had so many people where they were literally crying and in tears and distressed because they were about to be put out onto the street. And because of the crowdfunding system that we put together here, they had days to raise those funds. And not only did they raise the funds, but they raised significantly more than that. And they continued to raise funds, which helped them to well into the future. And it's the same thing now. If you look at in the United States, literally tens of millions of people are about to lose their homes. They're about to be evicted. They're about to be put out onto the street. And with a system like mine, which is coop5050.com, with a system like mine, you can literally set up your campaign right now, this very minute, and within a couple of hours, potentially have enough to take care of that debt so that you don't get evicted from your home. So a lot of people are going to be saved. A lot of lives are going to be helped. Churches, you look at places of worship, most of them are closed down, and they're suffering too. So this is another opportunity. You can literally use the 50-50 system for virtually anything, and it works exactly as it's advertised, and that's the thing that people really like about it.
Now, the student loan problem is there, about $1.4 trillion outstanding, and only about 37% of the people even attempting to pay that back. You can help in that. What kind of scenario would you put together to help those millions and millions of students who have to really pay that loan back? And that's one, too. And then there's a lot of students have a challenge to come up with the tuition to continue college. How can you help in that respect?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because student loans is really my pet peeve. When I look at student debt, I think right now it's $1.5 trillion, and that's just in North America. And that $1.5 trillion is much greater than the credit card debts that us as adults have. And this is our future. And not only is it a ridiculously expensive and humongous debt, but it's a non-forgivable debt. So you can actually go to a bank, borrow $50,000, put $100,000 on your credit cards, and 2 weeks later claim bankruptcy and all is forgiven. But you cannot put your student debt on a bankruptcy.
Right.
So a student that is leaving school right now, they don't have enough money to buy a car, start their own business, get a home. They're still in their parents' home because they can't afford to live. They can't afford food. It's just ridiculous. And the system I have now has helped literally thousands and thousands of students. But the new system that I've put together, one of my primary targets is students. And I believe, and I'm not saying this in a facetious way, I believe this to be 100% factual, that we can eradicate that $1.5 trillion in student debt in 2021.
Wow.
That would be amazing, because it's a huge issue. I know so many people when I was, in high school going to college that you don't know what's happening unless you're really educated. Someone puts a piece of paper in front of you and they say, hey, if you sign this, you'll go to college. You don't have to worry about it for a long time. And you're like, oh, yeah, perfect. I know so many people now who are now behind in interest from debts because they didn't know they had to be paying them. They don't have the money to do it. To be able to have your friends help you, the adults in your family help you, anyone you can get to is a huge relief. Even any tiny bit of money you can get off that debt helps them tremendously.
That's a big help.
There's a big problem that you're talking about right there, is a tiny bit of money, right? So if your student debt is $50,000, and many student debt is much more than that, if your student debt is $50,000, and right now I'm not using factual numbers, I'm just picking numbers off my head, but let's say you're paying $500 a month on that $50,000, you're not reducing the debt at all.
Yeah, you're just paying the interest.
Paying to maintain the debt. So, pay for 5 years, and after 5 years, you still have the same amount of debt. So it's a really atrocious debt.
Yep. In addition, the veterans are having problems. Obviously, a lot of veterans. I'm a veteran, but a lot of homeless veterans. They had guys coming back from the war-torn areas of Iraq or wherever, Afghanistan. They got that PTSD. They have a lot of problems. So you can help in that respect, in that respect too, sir.
Listen, it's so amazing. I can't wait till we release the new program, because yes, it can help somebody. So that homeless person that would be sitting on the street, we can actually help that person without them doing anything different than what they're doing right now. They can be sitting there and continuing to, beg for money. But at the same time that they're begging for money, have them hand a flyer to the person that's giving them money and say, if you would like to help me and help yourself, please go to this website. And who knows, within a couple of weeks, within 30 days, within 90 days, that person could go from living on the street to actually having their own home, and being able to, take the time to be able to shower, to be able to clean, to be able to get clothes, to be able to eat, to be able to acclimatize themselves back to regular society, and ultimately become a functioning contributor to society, instead of someone that's. And I talk to a lot of these homeless people, because my daughter and I, we go out from time to time, and we take food, and we hand food out to the homeless people, and they are no different than us.
Yeah.
And not only to tell you, are they not only no different than us? I was homeless twice, and as I mentioned to you a few moments ago, I got sick. In 2018, I was homeless again. And here it is now, 2020, I'm a multimillionaire. And it's because of the systems that I've created. And these same systems have not only worked for me, they're also working for literally thousands and thousands of other people around the world. So we're getting ready to have a pretty major impact on society, and a really positive impact on society moving forward.
I'd like to know some of the stories. Can you give us some of the stories? I mean, I know there are many, 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 because you do this all throughout the world, many, many countries. Give us some of the stories that you've come across in terms of your involvement in the process.
Wow.
I know you got many.
I know there's just so many, but I mentioned about this was just in 2018 with the woman who was getting ready to be turfed out on the street. She was in England. We helped her. There was another young lady in Chicago. Her house burned down, and it was my former system that helped to take her from having a burned down house to now having a new house, and being able to manage through that. Another friend in Iowa, his wife and children were with their parents, and he was sitting in his home with no power, and the only thing that was working was his phone. And a friend had put him into one of my systems, and that phone rang, and it was someone sending him a donation. And that propelled that individual from not having any lights on, not being able to live with his family, to within a month having his family back together and all of his bills paid. And then we've helped so many places of worship. You look at the Ukraine. I think we probably in 2012, I think we might have pumped $70-80 million into the Ukraine in 2012. It's just, it's like I can, from now until Christmas, I can tell you all kinds of stories.
I mean, that's
awesome.
amazing.
That's all. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that is absolutely incredible. And it's the little things that you don't think about that until you hear that. You just think, oh, crowdfunding, I always thought it was Shark Tank for the little businesses. I was telling Russell, my mother loves to go on there and she finds the new tech stuff and she finds, she gets her little rewards and she's very excited. But to be able to help your community, especially in COVID times when it's harder to go out to soup kitchens, it's harder to go to halfway houses, it's harder to do your community service. This is a way that you can still help. You can still do what's right and you're still safe and you're keeping everyone else safe, which is, I want to commend you a lot on that because that's amazing.
And here's something else that most people don't know at this moment, is that my system is considerably different than, say, a GoFundMe. But it's also the same, because not only do we have the team crowdfunding aspect, which is really, really super cool, but a person who has no money, who has nothing at all, can actually set up their system for free and can raise donations, one-time donations from people the same way they can in GoFundMe. But the difference is, and they're huge differences, is that A, the person gets 100% of the money, and B, they get it immediately. So they can get that money immediately. You could donate $50, somebody else could donate $10,000, somebody else could donate $100, and they get that money immediately.
How can people tap into your system? We've been talking for about a half an hour here. How can people find out more about specifics about your system?
Well, in the system, because it's really a team system, we've created a team environment, and the system is coop5050.com. And if you go to that system, you want to find somebody who is in the system that you can team up with. I think you might be looking at something, Russell, so maybe you can give them a link that they can go to and participate with yourself, which would be super cool because, it's all about helping one another. And
Absolutely. Well,
unlike other crowdfunding platforms, instead of being by yourself, we actually contribute to one another's success. So we're almost like buddy-buddy in the crowdfunding system.
yeah, mine is worldwidecrowdfunding.com. So I set up a system for the veterans to help them.
Yeah, great system too, by the way. Great name, by the way, Russ.
Well, yeah, of course. But you worldwide, and your system is the. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. No.
I was just gonna say that's a great name. It's easy to remember. It's for an amazing cause, and I love the fact that it does help you. Teaming up with someone helps you market it because you don't have to do everything by yourself.
True.
It helps you get the word out. You have double the amount of contacts that you can get to.
True.
And
Right.
I think it's a great idea.
Right. And Freddie's going to set up a system to raise money to. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Freddie's going to give you a call on that. David, he's going to give you a call because he wants to establish that.
Yeah, but tell your listeners the name of your site once again so that they.
Okay, worldwidecrowdfunding.com.
And
Worldwidecrowdfunding.com. Yeah, right.
Awesome. Great.
Right.
I was going to say, if you guys don't know, we have now set up a Facebook page for New Business on Main Street, and we'll be posting the link for the Co-op 50/50 and for us as worldwide crowdfunding so that you can just go to our Facebook page. You can click on those links. It'll take you right there.
Okay.
And that way, easy one-step process.
Sure, that's great. Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well, I really appreciate it, David. You go ahead.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening. David, we definitely want to have you on when your new systems next year come out so we can talk all about that. Be sure to visit worldwidecrowdfunding.com, co-op5050.com. And this was New Business on Main Street.
And Freddie, any questions, Freddie?
No, I'm going to call him.
Oh, he's going to call you because he wants to. You heard of Sirius Radio, your ABC, CBS, NBC. He wants one as big as all of them together.
Hey, listen, that's what we do. By the way, another person that I helped, I didn't have when I say I helped, I didn't have an impact on her stardom. But I remember in 2012 when Middle of Nowhere by a little-known person at that time, which was Ava DuVernay, I sponsored her win at Sundance Film Festival, and we did the after party.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone, so
and
much
as you
for
know, now
listening.
she's done Selma and she's doing Oprah, and she's doing $100 million deals.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Excellent.
so much,
Excellent.
David.
I love it.
Thank you so
I
much
love
for
it.
us.
I love it. Thanks a lot.
I hope everyone has a great night, and we'll see you next show.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
88. You have been listening to New Business on Main Street with your host, Russell. If you have a business idea and want to share it on the air, call Russell directly at 561-302-2588. That's 561-302-2588. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the